You never really understand how heavy silence is, until it's the only thing that shows up for Christmas. That's how the story begins. A sentence scribbled in a journal beside a nearly cold fireplace, written by a man who had once laughed louder than any room could contain, before life quieted him. His name was Daniel Blake, a single father, aged 38. A former carpenter, a devoted husband once, and now, just a man with hollow eyes and too much space in a small house. He wasn't bitter. Just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of smiling in front of his 5-year-old daughter Emily, only to lock himself in the bathroom afterward and let the tears fall in silence. Last Christmas, Emily had sat on her mother's lap, giggling while decorating cookies. This Christmas, she sat across the table from an empty chair, one that Daniel hadn't had the courage to move or touch in over a year. His wife, Laura, had passed suddenly the previous winter, an unexpected heart condition. She had kissed Emily goodnight, told Daniel she'd be right back after grabbing the laundry, and collapsed in the hallway. Just like that. No goodbye. No warning. Just gone. Daniel had promised himself he'd hold it together for Emily. But grief has a funny way of spreading. It seeps into the walls, into daily routines, into holidays. And that Christmas morning, when Emily tore through the wrapping paper of her dollhouse, squealing with joy, he'd smiled and clapped, but his heart was numb. By evening, the smile had faded. Emily had fallen asleep curled up on the sofa, watching the Polar Express for the 4th time. Daniel sat on the recliner, a paper plate of mashed potatoes untouched on his lap, flickering Christmas lights blinking gently around him like a lullaby to his loneliness. Then came a knock. A soft, hesitant knock on the front door. It was 7:42 p.m. Daniel blinked, uncertain if he imagined it. Another knock, this time more certain. He gently laid Emily's blanket over her, stood up slowly, and opened the door. There stood a woman. Soaked from the snowfall, holding a foil-covered tray and a steaming thermos in her gloved hands. Her scarf was red. Her eyes, blue, wide, kind. "Hi. I'm sorry to just show up like this," she said. "You don't know me, but I live a block over. My name's Natalie, and my mother used to do this every Christmas. Make an extra dinner. Just in case someone needed it." Daniel blinked. What? She held the tray up. Ham, honey carrots, rosemary potatoes. And cocoa. He looked at her, stunned. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," she smiled. "But I noticed your lights were on and I just felt like I should stop here." And that's how it began. Daniel invited her in, awkward at first. She placed the food on the table, helping him heat it in the oven. They spoke in quiet voices, like two strangers trying not to disturb the ghosts that lived in the walls. Natalie was a nurse. Worked night shifts. Never married. No kids. But she had a story too. Her mother passed the year before. That extra dinner tradition was her way of keeping her mom alive through kindness. They ate at the table while Emily slept. Daniel shared more than he intended. About Laura. About the ache of buying presents alone. About the guilt of being alive when she wasn't. Natalie listened. Not with pity, but with presence. And then Emily stirred awake. She wandered over, rubbing her eyes, and stared at Natalie with sleepy curiosity. "You a friend of Daddy's?" Natalie knelt. "I'm just someone who likes hot cocoa and Christmas lights." Emily smiled. "You smell like cinnamon." The three of them ended up sitting by the fire, sipping cocoa, while Emily showed her the dollhouse. Natalie helped her place the furniture inside, carefully, gently, like she understood that every moment with a child is a fragile gift. The night stretched long. And for the first time in over a year, Daniel didn't feel the need to escape his own home. The weeks passed. They didn't plan it, but Natalie started dropping by every few days. Sometimes with leftover soup. Sometimes to read Emily a bedtime story while Daniel finished paperwork. Sometimes just to sit with him in silence, the kind of silence that felt full instead of empty. By spring, Emily began calling her Miss Nat. By summer, they visited the lake together. By autumn, Natalie was there on Emily's first day of school. And by the next Christmas, something changed. Daniel didn't dread the tree that year. He and Emily picked it out together. Natalie helped decorate. There were 3 stockings on the mantel. 3 mugs on the counter. Laughter in the kitchen. Music on the radio. And not a single moment of forced cheer, just warmth. Real, slow, earned warmth. Daniel still missed Laura. He always would. But grief no longer ran the house. Love did. A year later, Daniel wrote in his journal again. You never really understand how heavy silence is. Until someone shows up and fills it with kindness. Last year, I was drowning in sorrow. This year, I am learning to breathe again, one small act of love at a time. And it all started with a knock. Moral of the story. We never know the depth of someone's loneliness, or the weight they carry silently. But one act of kindness, even from a stranger, can change the course of a broken life. Sometimes, we're not sent to fix people, just to remind them that they're not forgotten.